Forward! Forward! Forward!
Fall in. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Trey. And you're rocking with your best, your favorite vets on the net. First formation, more than sports talk. So come on and fall in. As you know, our vibe, we get to talk about sports and sometimes anything that comes to mind. If you was a part of the show yesterday, we got to talking about a topic in reference to what is it that players really get engaged in? Is it because of the money? Is it because of the fame, the fortune, the opportunity to become a dynasty, win championships? It was a couple of people that had various things to say. But of course, I like my point best in said debate. But in any case, we move on, keeping the pushing. What's good out there? What's going on? How is y'all morning going? How has y'all week been? I'm very sure my esteemed colleague gets on here. Let us know it's hump day, halfway through. Tomorrow becomes the weekend eve, and there's plenty to do. Of course, not much to talk about in reference to the March Madness college basketball scene. We know that is coming to a close. Final Fours on deck. Texas is representing men's Final Four in Houston, women's Final Four in Dallas. Is about to go down. Of course, we know the women continue with their trek into what is they'll be their champion soon, as their game is going to be played on Friday. And then, of course, the men followed up on Saturday with their Final Four tournaments. Basically, so they have the selection of who is going to be the teams to play in the championship. The women running back the following day, and then the men finish it out on Monday, as usual, to crown this year's NCAA men's and women's basketball champions. Moving on and continue on as the seasons go forth. So, getting into starting off this morning as we usually do, the NBA particularly. The races are still on. I just knew without a doubt that what I had asked the basketball guys for was going to be in that. But I don't know. I blink and I look up, the whole game turned around. We'll get into that momentarily. Of course, let's get into some of these scores from last night when it comes down to it. Like I said, NBA action, got a lot to talk about though. However, in sports in general, so far, like I said, let's get to these scores yesterday. 6 games was played. First off, the Wizards and the Celtics, which I did not expect this. But in any case, it's any given day. It doesn't make a difference who, what, when, where. Anybody can get it. The Boston Celtics traveled to Washington, hosted by the Washington Wizards, in which Washington walked away with a dub, winning 130-111 in their losing efforts. So Boston Celtics was led by Jason Tatum's 28 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Contribution, Jaylen Brown, of course, none other, JB, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. 14 points, 5 assists from Marcus Smart. 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists from Malcolm Brogdon. 8.6 rebounds, 2 assists, Grant Williams. Derek White, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Al Horford, 5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists on the night. Additionally, 5 points from Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett with 8 points, and Robert Williams got his contribution in. 0 on the score, but yet 4 rebounds and 1 assist. For the Wizards, however, Kristaps Porzingis was in the bag. double-double, 32 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists on the night, leading his team. Denny Advaja, 25 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, his double-double, putting in that work. 19 points, 3 rebounds, 9 assists from Monte Morris. 12 points, 1 rebounds, 1 assist from Kendrick Nunn. 2 points apiece from Xavier Cooks and Jordan Godwin. Anthony Gill and Taj Gibson contributed with 4 points apiece on their own. Jonathan Davis, 7 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. Corey Kispert, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And lastly, DeLon Wright, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in what amounted to a straight dub for the Wizards. Now 34-42, although dismal, but it is a win. The Boston Celtics dropped to 52-54 on the year. In which they really needed that W to keep pace with the Milwaukee Bucks in what was a off night for the Bucks, opportunity to gain some ground. It didn't happen. But yet the game's going. What's good, TT? Glad to have you formation this morning. I hope your day is going pretty good. Your morning, your week, for that fact of the matter. Always glad to see you. Next game from the night last night, Cleveland Cavaliers, Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta. Unlikely shorts. As expected, Donovan Mitchell cooking as usual. But it wasn't going as expected, especially when you got everyone in Atlanta dropping in those buckets, those dimes, just filling up the basket. Donovan Mitchell, 44 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on what is a high scoring. I think he scored the most points in the NBA on this particular night. Play wire to wire, just about only missing about, basically he got maybe 2 minutes of rest a quarter. 44 points, like I said, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 27 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists from backcourt mate Darius Garland. Even Mobley contributed with a double-double, 20 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 9 points from Caris LeVert, 4 points, 9 rebounds, Lamar Stevens. CD Osman contributed with 3 points, 2 rebounds, as well as Ricky Rubio, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. But if you listen to it, it's nothing compared to what the output of the Atlanta Hawks is putting up last night. Of course, it was led by DeJounte Murray's 29 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 16 points, 1 rebound, 10 assists from Trae Young, a double-double from Clint Capella, 12 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. John Collins, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 7.6 rebounds from DeAndre Ayton, 21 points, 9 rebounds from Onyeka Okongwu. Saddiq Bey, a double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. When you count them up and add them up, it doesn't. One is less than the other. The Atlanta Falcons edge out the Cleveland Cavaliers 120-118, keeping up that fight for them to get into the play-in. Maybe more. We don't know. We're not going to completely talk about. Still 6 games on the year left for Atlanta to make up some ground. They could go on have a hot bird summer, right before the summer, spring. Corrections, the spring break time frame. Cleveland 48-29 on the year with that loss. Already locked into a spot, currently holding on to the 4th spot, but New York isn't too far behind. It's still chipping away at the lead, evidently. But they did have a night off, so we will see how things go because they are scheduled to play tonight. Keeping things moving along. 4 more games on the docket. The Miami Heat, another team trying to get back into the playoffs, currently sitting in the play-in. Faced off against Toronto, traveled up to Canada to get their game in. The Heat had a hot game. Tyler Hero, 33 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. That man off the bench last year's 6th man of the year. Bam Adebayo, a double-double, 21 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. But it kind of stops there. 7 points apiece from Victor Oladipo and Caleb Martin, 5 rebounds, for Martin, 2 rebounds, 2 assists for Victor Oladipo, 6 points from Kyle Lowry, 4 points from Duncan Robinson. Kevin Love, 3 points and 5 rebounds. It just was enough. Gabe Vincent, 2 points. Caleb Martin, 7 points. It wasn't enough. The Raptors, however, 6 players in double figures, led by Pascal Siakam's 26 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 22 points apiece from OG Nobi with 3 rebounds, 5 assists to go along with that. Scotty Barnes, 22.7 rebounds, 12 assists, 12 points from Fred VanVleet, 12 points from Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher with 8 points, 5 rebounds on the night, all amounting to a 106-92 dub for the Toronto Raptors, getting back to 500 on the year, 38-38. With that loss, that puts them just 2 games behind the Miami Heat, who currently are 40-36. I think still sitting in the 7th place. So opportunity to capitalize on playing a potential foe head-to-head and doesn't work out in their case. But in any case, someone has to win, someone has to lose. In this case, it was Miami. What's good, Frat? What's going on? Sandra, glad to have you formation this morning. Brother, how you doing, man? What's good with you, Fran? Continue on. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. The Orlando Magic had an opportunity to gain some ground, I guess you could say, as they faced off against a Ja-less Memphis Grizzlies. But one thing in regards to the NBA, it's a team sport. And for the most part, everyone on the team could go get it, but there's usually someone that can go get it more than others. The Magic, led by Franz Wagner's 25 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Paolo Banchero contribute 24 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. 14.7 rebounds, 2 assists from Wendell Carter Jr. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists for Cole Anthony. 13.6 rebounds, 1 assist from Bitts Day. Jalen Suggs contributed with 2.3 rebounds, 1 assist. Gary Harris, 3 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Markelle Fultz, 11 points, 1 rebound, 5 assists. Morris Wagner, 4 rebounds. And Caleb Houston, just 9 minutes. In state, it wasn't enough. The Grizzlies, like I said, without Ja Morant, get a 31-point showing from Desmond Bane, 4 rebounds, 5 assists on the night, 16 points, 5 rebounds from Luke Kennard, 16 points, 10 rebounds from Jared Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists on the night, Tyus Jones, 7.6 rebounds, 8 assists, Santi Aldama, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, John Concher, 0.3 rebounds and 2 assists, Xavier Tillman, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. The Memphis Grizzlies notched their 7th consecutive win with a 113-101 dub over the Orlando Magic, 48-27. They continue to walk up the standings, and are kind of making noise, in my opinion. Memphis is looking like we don't need no stake in Ja. We can get this done on our own. They're basically showing they are a well-enabled-bodied team. That they don't need a superstar, although we beg to differ, honestly. But they can get it done. Jaren Jackson Jr., an all-star last year, but he didn't have to do the heavy lifting. Desmond Bane showed he has what it takes and handle business. Memphis Grizzlies currently hot pursuit of the Western Conference leading Denver Nuggets. It's going to start to heat up. 2 more games, of course, on the docket. This was one in which the basketball guys answered for me. Charlotte Hornets, Orlando City Thunder. Correct. I'm so sorry, Orlando. Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Charlotte Hornets continue to take care of business. They be down, but they're not out. PJ Washington in rare form, 43 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. And then everyone has decided to chip in some way, form, or fashion. You get some points. You get some points. You get some points. Let's all get some points as Theo Madelon contribute 19 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists on the night, 18 points, 5 rebounds 8 assists from Makulu, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 46 from JT Thor. Kai Jones contributed 12 points, 14 rebounds, 1 assist. Bryce McGowan's 11 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Nick Richards, 14 points, 11 rebounds. PJ Washington, as I said, led the field. Everyone was scoring with the Hornets last night. The Thunder, three players with 30 points or more shooting. All of them shot about 60% or better on a night, but it wasn't enough because they was the only 3 cooking. Josh Giddey read the field with a double-double, 31 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, just 1 assist short of a triple-double, 33 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist from Isaiah Joe. Jalen Williams with 31 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists on the night. Lou Dort was the only other player in double figures with 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. Everyone else, 7 points apiece from Trey Mann and Jeremiah Robinson Earl, 4 points from Jared Butler. Aaron Wiggins contributed with 2 points, 2 rebounds, and Monsane Dieng 2 points. As it wasn't enough, the Charlotte Hornets just barely edged out the Oklahoma City Thunder by the score of 137-134. The Hornets 26 wins on the season. I'm wondering at this point, can they get to 30? Can you get to 30 MVs? Remains to be seen. They're running pretty short. 5 games remaining on the season. So they can't lose another game in order to get to a minimum of 30. Is that their over-under? Are they over under 30? We have remains to be seen. For Oklahoma City, however, with that loss, they dropped to 37-39, 2 games below 500. 500 is actually, I know I always say 500, even though that really doesn't make a difference because it depends on what the other 16 teams or 15 teams in your conference is doing. But that's a good, we can do it. I'm with you, Taylor May. Just get the 5. I want to see 30, at least a 30 piece. I want to see a 30 piece. But I keep on saying 500, at least 500. That's a good point to get at. No losses, no wins per se. Just get to 500. Currently, Oklahoma City sits 2 games below 500 at this point, with 6 games still left to play. I would say I want to see them get to 40, even 45, but that's not what I want to see in their cards. They're currently locked in the battle with LA for the to be in the play-in or the playoffs. So shout out to the Hornets. Taylor May, shout out to the Hornets. Appreciate it. Good looking out. And last but not least, this is where the basketball gods let me down. I blinked and it was a whole, I don't know what happened. I just don't know what happened. What we can expect is most likely Draymond Green will be suspended. Picking up his 16th foul last night in a double technical between him and Brandon Ingram. Of course, unless they do like they did with Luka Doncic and rescind that technical, but it did get a little chippy in this game last night. First, he got into it with Brandon Ingram. We know Brandon Ingram was about that life. If you remember when Rajon Rondo and Chris Paul got into it, and Brandon Ingram came in with the piece, the one-headed quitter, and knocked aside Chris Paul's head. So we know he's about that life. But he got into it with Draymond. We know Draymond's about that life, or maybe just with his teammates. And then after that, of course, Draymond was assessed a personal a offensive charge as he bowled over Herb Johnson in the Herb Jones. I'm sorry, in the lane, got assessed with the offensive foul, charging, basically tripped up over Jones, and then made it hard for Jones to get up. Jones kind of like nudged him to get his feet up off him. Draymond seemed to have a little problem with that. Of course, him and Ingram start jawing again. No one ejected. Technicals assessed, but they continue on. At one point, New Orleans was in the driver's seat. I don't know what happened. Steph Curry decided I wanted to drive the bus. He got in the driver's seat. He pulled the referee the other day jumped in the four-wheeler on the court and decided, I'm going to drive around. I'm going to drive around the court. This is my court now. This is my road. Pelicans, led by Brandon Ingles, 26.8 rebounds, 7 assists, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists from Trey Murphy III, 15 points, 1 rebounds, 3 assists from CJ McCollum. Valanciunas, usually big on the boards, a little mediocre last night, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. 7 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists from Josh Richardson. Larry Nance Jr., 8.6 rebounds, 2 assists. Hurd with 13.6 rebounds, 4 assists. Dyson Daniels, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 points on the night. And Najee Harris, 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Was no match for the Golden State Warriors down the stretch. As we know, Golden State is pretty impressive at home, playing at home, and which they were. Steph Curry started shooting the lights out the gym. 39 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists on the night. 13 points apiece from Dante DiVincenzo, 7 rebounds and 2 assists to go along with that, as well as Jonathan Kuminga, 4 points, 1 rebound. As John Kuminga is doing a little bit better now, he has been inserted into the starting lineup. Kevin Looney was moved out. They went small ball, putting Draymond at the 5, Jonathan at the power forward. Of course, we know Andrew Wiggins is still out currently, which the other 3 was Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry for starters last night. Jordan Poole, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Looney, 3 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. 4 points, 2 assists from Anthony Lamb. Gary Payton II did get some burn last night. Moses Moody the same, 2 points from Moody, 1 rebound for Payton, and Patrick Baldwin Jr. 1 assist on the night. Klay Thompson contributes 17 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Draymond, 8 points, 6 rebounds, 13 assists. And just like that, like I said, when I blinked, the Pelicans were up and looked like they were securely going to walk off to a win. And then I blink again, and Golden State is blistering, running through them at this point, knocking down threes, penetration with almost with no what type of resistance. They get the win 120-109, 40 and 37 on the night. However, the 38 and 38 does help. They put the Pelicans within touching reach of the Los Angeles Lakers, of course. With that, of course, there's some games tonight, a total of 12 to be exact, I believe. 10, correction. As Ford mentioned, Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers face off tonight. The Bucks looking for an opportunity to get a little more distance between themselves and the Boston Celtics with the dub. The Houston Rockets have the honor of walking into Brooklyn to try to give them yet another L, as the Nets will host the Houston Rockets tonight. The 76ers face off with the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks have hit a bottom point at this point when you look at it, currently sitting at, I believe, 11 or 12 seed in a tight Western race. Especially, that's kind of hard to swallow when you were once a 4th seed. Now you're sitting outside the play-in. With the addition of a Kyrie Irving, doesn't look good for Mavericks to be able to keep that as an off-season opposition. Addition. The Miami Heat face off against yet another foe as they continue to get their games against potential playoff contenders in the Eastern Conference. Miami will be hosted by the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. The Los Angeles Clippers and Memphis Grizzlies square up in Memphis as the Clippers look to try to keep a hold on their position in the bottom half. Just outside the play-in, which we'll see in a few minutes. But the Grizzlies have an opportunity to gain yet another game on the Nuggets as they are off tonight. The Utah Jazz and San Antonio Spurs face off in San Antonio. The Chicago Bulls host the Los Angeles Lakers. The LA Lakers getting an opportunity to avenge that loss at home versus the Bulls in what are meaningful games for them at this point. Does the Lakers pull it off and knock off the Bulls, or do they get swept and lose yet another opportunity to make some way on these teams that play each other tonight? The Detroit Pistons face off against the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma. Another game in which can determine some movement in the Western Conference standings. The Sacramento Kings against the Portland Trailblazers. Trailblazers very close to being eliminated from playoff contention. The Kings kind of, sort of, in a good position, currently sitting in third, I believe, in the Western Conference. In which, of course, the last game of the night, which puts some a little spin on what can be the Minnesota Timberwolves face off against the Phoenix Suns, a game in which Kevin Durant is expected to come back after being out those 10 days with an ankle injury that's sustained during the warm-ups. So he gets a chance finally to make a home debut for the Phoenix Suns. Timberwolves currently clicking on all cylinders, pretty potent, honestly, since Karl-Anthony Towns just came back. It's going to be an opportunity for the Timberwolves to continue to move up the standings, maybe get a little closer, to get a little more separation. As currently, I think them and Golden State continue to battle for that sixth spot. Actually, let's confirm. Clinched the division by the Bucks in the East, as they clinched yesterday, winning the conference award for winning their division. So they have clinched their division. The Bucks are off and running. Currently, like you said, the Celtics, 76ers, and Cavaliers all currently clinched playoff spots, in which the Celtics are currently 2.5 games back. The 76ers at third, just 2.5 games back from the Celtics, and the Cavaliers 2 games back from the 76ers at the 4th seed. And the 5th seed, currently the New York Knicks sit with just a 2.5 game advantage over the Brooklyn Nets. I want to say it, but I'm not going to say it. In the 7th seed currently, the Miami Heat sit just a half game back from the Brooklyn Nets. So with a win tonight and a loss from the Heat, that should give them the separation which they need for the Heat to jump into that 6th spot and for the Nets to fall a little bit further down the standings into obscurity potentially. The Atlanta Hawks just 2 games outside. Correction, not 2. 2.5 games out of that 6th spot. The Bulls currently sit 4 games outside of it. A win tonight versus the Lakers will go a long way for them. And then in the 9th seed spot, the Toronto Raptors currently 2.5 games in that 6th spot, but in the play-in. Not too much of a battle or anything going on outside of that. The Wizards currently sit just a game and a half, 2.5 games outside of the spot for the 10th seed. Of course, a loss to the Lakers tonight will, and a win by the Wizards will give the Wizards a little breathing room to get into that 10th spot. It's crazy how it goes. It's even the 1 spot, the 6th spot, or the 10th spot is the target area for these teams going forth. It's getting hot and heavy. Only 6 games for the most part remaining in these conferences. On the West, it's a whole different story. Currently, the Nuggets and Grizzlies have already punched their ticket to be in the tournament, to get into the playoffs. Grizzlies sit just 3 games behind the Nuggets with the opportunity to get yet another game, to get in position for another game that basically put them 2.5 games back. The Kings sit 3 games behind the Grizzlies for the 2nd spot. The Suns currently 5 games behind the Kings. A half-game lead over the Clippers as the Clippers and the Grizzlies play tonight. So if the Suns can get a dub, they keep a distance. If they lose and the Clippers are able to take over and beat the Memphis Grizzlies, the Clippers could potentially move into the 4th spot and getting a little separation. At the 6th seed, of course, the Warriors, with that win last night, continues to hold on just barely. Timberwolves currently a half game behind the Warriors. Additionally, the Pelicans, with that loss last night, fall a game behind the Timberwolves, but still remain just a game and a half out from the Warriors on the 6th seed. So that win last night would have did wonders for the Pelicans, putting them in a good position to overtake the Warriors as the season draws near. For the Lakers, currently sitting at the 9th seed, just 2 games out from the Warriors. The Thunder behind the Lakers, a half game behind the Lakers, yet 2.5 games out from the Warriors. And then last but not least, as you look at the remaining teams in the Western Conference, the Mavericks sit just 2.5 games outside from the 6th spot at a number 11 seed. For the Utah Jazz, they're 4 games outside from the Warriors in the 6th spot as a 12th seed. It's starting to get dismal for the Trailblazers. So that's what we have. What's good, Kyle? What's going on, brother? Glad to see you information this morning. So when you look at it, that's what we basically have in a sense. It's time for these teams to kind of like ante up. There's no more playing. You got to turn it around. If you don't start to turn it around, you're going to start to go further and further and further into the obscurity. When you look at it, of course, there was other news in the NBA. One of the first things was the teams were selected. They're going to be announced at the Final Four game this weekend in Houston, but it's already said game match 6 players or individuals going into the NBA Basketball Hall of Fame. Of course, Dwayne Wade, Dirk Nowitzki, and Greg Popovich among those finalists elected into the NBA Hall of Fame. Followed up by, of course, international sensations Tony Parker and Pau Gasol, also elected into the NBA Hall of Fame. And last but not least, WNBA legend Becky Hammon, winner of Coach of the Year in the WNBA, as well as a first WNBA championship with the Las Vegas Aces, all getting an opportunity to spread their wings and get into the Hall of Fame in state. Now, when I look at this list, right? Oh, no, I'm not going to say that because we know we had a conversation yesterday, and I'm looking at of this list. Everyone on this list going into the Hall of Fame are currently champions. Dwayne Wade, a 3-time NBA champion, 13-time All-Star. So he's good. Paul Gasol, he's a 2-time NBA champion, 2-time gold silver medalist in the Olympic Games. Tony Parker, 5-time NBA champion, or 4-time. I'm sorry, I think 4-time NBA champion. Dirk Nowitzki, 1-time NBA champion, 6 all-time in scoring, MVP at one point. So they all got accolades. All of them got accolades in state. So I guess there's no argument or anything here with them being enshrined into the Hall of Fame in August. So I guess, say shout out to that. It was expected, definitely expected. Dwayne Wade, Dirk Nowitzki get in on their first look. I think Paul Gasol as well, first look, first ballot. Tony Parker, I think, was the first ballot, and Becky Hammon, first ballot. All first ballot. Not bad. It's going to start getting a little bit harder and harder as it goes, as we get more and more talent in the as these players get ready to retire. Maybe not. I stand corrected. Continuing on. As we know, the Brooklyn Nets have shut down Ben Simmons as he has back problems. Like, everyone believes that this can be a situation to where Ben Simmons is done. I haven't had back problems myself, but I do have friends that talk about the back issue, back problems, and they say it comes and goes. You don't never really know what's going to happen or how this is going to happen, and this surgery isn't always the best. Doesn't always fix the problem. In Ben Simmons, we had that. I think it was ideal and good for them to shut him down. so he can go ahead and recover. There's not an expectancy for him to have surgery, but just rest, recover. Very sure he's going to continue to work out and try to get back into. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that life with Stanton, but like I said, plenty of people still have talked about it and said that it is that there's his problems. So he's no different. I know that he's probably seen. I know how you feel about Ben Simmons for real, Andre. But I mean, it is. I mean, you gotta take it as it comes, man. And he's no different. He's a human being just like the rest of us. And the fact that he gets paid millions of dollars doesn't remove the fact of he has to deal with issues that can be a derailment, that can be affect how he plays in every turn. So, of course, we wish him good. It's his turn to sit out. Uh, let the man live, man. Let him live. He gets the opportunity to sit out and watch his team continue on, and then he kind of gets the opportunity to see where they would potentially go from there. If he was playing or when he gets back into the fold. Plenty of basketball to be played. I don't see basketball going away anytime soon. He's a young man, only 26 years old, so he gets opportunity. He's got years. He's got years to play, at least 6 or 7 or 5 more years under his belt. What's good, Seven fam? What's going on, brother? Glad to have you formation with us, man. What's good? Um, Ben Simmons might be done in the NBA. You think so, Cal? I think he still got an opportunity, man. Now, I would say that he would be done in Brooklyn, but I don't think that. I don't think he's completely powered out or what case like that. I think he's going to, even if Brooklyn doesn't keep him around, I think he's going to get back into a situation to where he's going to go somewhere to where he's not relied upon. He's just another another player that's able to contribute, and then that contribution allows him to continue to get work and do what he's got to do. His mental issues and media drama that follow because of failed expectations makes juice not worth the squeeze. I get you though, Kyle. I can agree with you, but I think he's not, I don't think he's done yet. Now he may be on the edge, but I don't think he's done yet. I think he still has an opportunity to turn it around and be able to contribute and do what he was doing when he was in Philadelphia. And that's why I say I think he has an opportunity. Like, think about it. Kwame Brown, right? I guess you could say the same thing, of course, sort of like Kwame Brown, where we looked at when it was going back and forth between him and some of the players and talking about him and stuff like that. Kwame Brown contributed in some way, form, or fashion. It wasn't what they was thinking because of the expectancy, because he was a top one, he was a number one pick, but he did get buckets. He did contribute in some way, form, or fashion. So that's the same could be said for Ben Simmons at some point. I think at some point he could get back into a fold. Maybe not the Ben Simmons in which we've seen and everyone's thinking about they're going to see, but he can get back into the fold to where he can be productive, I think, in my opinion. He should have never came back in the big three. No, they won't want him in the big three. So I think they would still take a chance on Coach Cal. Probably not at a high clip. He probably look at veteran minimum, $7-8 million for the most part. That would be the his ceiling if he continues to go down the road in which he's going. But he's a 6'10" guard that can handle the ball and can be defensive. Of course, when you know with the defense's issues, it's almost like Ben Simmons has turned to the Tiger Woods of basketball of the NBA. But again, back issues from what I heard. I even watched my man Seven's podcast yesterday in which they was talking about it when there was this discussion. Although Seven isn't buying it, he said he's not giving them a pass. But you know what I'm saying, in state it is what it is. Those things could be relevant. Mentioning the same thing we talk about mental illness for the most part, in which take a toll on people, not being liked by certain people, to go into the gym and to be booed, and when you was just there, like you helped them get some of the wins, and yet they sit up and talk about you and get on you and slip and say, "Hey, you're trash," in a sense. That is huge. What the hell is going on? Sorry about that for a second. But yeah, that's huge, man. So it remains to be seen. We'll see how that ends up going, how that comes about. Uh, as the days continue to, as we get back into next season, and we'll see if Brooklyn's going to eat that money, if they're going to find a way, what will be the expectancy. It, as I say, it always remains to be seen. So this, I guess I ain't gonna say this drama, but the saga in in Oakland with the Golden State Warriors. What is out? What is up with Andrew Wiggins? He's been out 40 games at this point. They said it's a personal issue in which no one really knows. Of course, we did see the story a couple of days. Something stated that his significant other supposedly conceived a child with his best friend, and it was his child. But then, of course, the significant other came on and said, of all things, that's where y'all go with this is, come on, stop playing. I get it, Coach Cal. But again, the point guard's job is to distribute the ball and put people in place. If that's all he's going to do, all he got to do is be the best at it. Now, I do think that you can't be that person and you're not getting. You got to be getting 8 to 9 assists with 4 or 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds at minimum, close to a double-double on a nightly basis to be effective if you're not scoring the ball, which I think you could do. As far as the Wiggins thing, the same thing with the Wiggins situation. I think this is a thing of mental health, mental issues. So if it's something personal, which it has him out for this time frame, there has to be a mental illness, a mental health situation going on, in my opinion. Not putting that upon anybody, but obviously it's got to be something that's very draining for him and making it tough. Of course, the media rumors, when it's come back, I'm very sure people are at a fever pitch looking for what is really going on. Why is this guy out so long? And I'm very sure it's going to come. It's going to basically come out eventually, maybe after he comes back, or if he doesn't come back this season, during the off season. But it remains to be seen. But of course, I applaud whoever has it on the wraps and keeping a tight lip on it, as we know that's probably something now in the Golden State Warriors locker room, because remember how the punch got out and they were upset about that. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess sure we'll come up on it soon. But I could think I'll be remiss to say that his absence has contributed to a lot of the losing when it comes down to them being on the road and stuff. Dante DiVincenzo has been starting to fill in the role pretty all right, but he's not Andrew Wiggins. So go figure. But they have continued to find ways to win. I'm starting to look at them and be like, yo, Golden State might be primed for another one. I don't know if they'll be able to beat a Milwaukee squad, but they're primed to walk into another championship almost. So maybe so. I would think if I was a ball player and I had the ability to have courts at my own crib, in my crib, I will put up shots, even if it's just to release tension, to ease my mind. I will put up shots, even if it's just shooting free throws. I think I'm putting up shots just to ease my mind, or maybe not, because if it gets to a point to where I'm concentrating and the concentration isn't there, and I'm breaking free throws, and yes, you probably start to think like, "Yo, this isn't life." So I got you, Cal. I see what you're saying. So definitely, I can agree with you 100%. A couple of other things, right? A little off-topic subjects, whatnot. What is up with Charles Barkley and Kevin Durant? like we spoke yesterday, Charles Barkley's name came up in our conversation in which we talked about because I was trying to make a point that championships really don't matter to as much as people. Well, not don't matter. Championships gets too much weight, in my opinion, when it comes down to talking about players. Charles Barkley came up yesterday because he is one player that you can look at that doesn't have a championship, but he's an all-time great. Yesterday, he discussed or went back and forth with Kevin Durant. Uh, as he said, quote, Kevin Durant, he's very sensitive, a great player. He's part of the generation who think he can't be criticized, unquote, for Charles Barkley in reference to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant comes back. This ain't getting tiring, Chuck. I'll never respect the words that come out of your mouth. Fam, just deal with it. In which that was Kevin Durant's clapback. So, why is this a problem? You have a generational talent in Kevin Durant going back and forth with, in his heyday, was a generational talent in Charles Barkley. What's the disconnect? Why is it that they can't get on saying, is Charles Barkley, like Charles Barkley is a journalist. The only difference between me and Charles Barkley is, of course, his bank account and the fact that he played the game. So he has a little more insight on the intricacies and what's going on, or even any one of us out there for the most part that do this thing. So is it a situation to where Charles Barkley is doing a little bit too much and engaging and talking and going back and forth, or is it a situation to where Kevin Durant is maybe a little sensitive and lacking an ear for what he's saying? At this point, Kevin Durant said he doesn't respect what comes out of Charles Barkley's mouth. How can you not respect the all-time great's opinion? That's like saying that, okay, I could care less about what Stephen A tells me or says to me about what it is I do, or anyone else for the fact of the matter that has been around a long time in sports journalism. You hear it, you filter what's needed and dispose of the rest. Coach Cal says both have egos, prideful, neither will give in to the other to come on common ground. KV wants the media to operate the way he like. Charles Barkley sees blood in the water, and in terms of KD's sensitivity, wants to attack that one's weakness of compensate for the fact that KD has one up on him in terms of accolades and championships. Do you really think that? Okay, Charles Barkley, that's what he does. This isn't something that he's just started doing. He's been like this both and on off and on the court. So a couple of things come out from that, gentlemen. I thank you. I appreciate your comments. So a couple of things come out, right? So from what Coach Cal was saying, right? Are you saying that and you believe that KD is sensitive? Is that what you're basically putting out there? You think KD is sensitive? I don't want to say soft because last time we said soft in reference to round ball, although it was military basketball, it became a firestorm. But in terms of lack of better words, is KD soft? Is it about him not being able to operate in the media as he wants to, or in the case of what you're saying, and Charles Barkley seeing blood in the water and attacks and then saying goes in for a taste, or is it just, I guess, opposite side of the spectrum? It could be that in which Charles Barkley sees something great in him, he continues to reference him and speak about him and the things in which he does and how he does them, and KD is taking it in the wrong way. And then on the flip side of it, to what LeStanton say, I get it. And this is just playing anti-advocate. I get what you're saying, LeStanton, in reference to this is what Charles Barkley does, but him doing that doesn't make it right. We've had other people in the course, like sports journalists, that have been those people to consistently always be on somebody's head. Skip Bayless to LeBron James. Remember when Jimmy the Greek was around? He was very boisterous and talked about stuff. Whitlock, he's another one of those people. Does that make it right for these individuals to continue to say stuff and do stuff and be on people's, like they said, because they're journalists and they have a little a platform. Coach Cal responds back, burner account scream sensitive. Okay. Okay. When I set my ring alarm to nothing slide by the camera. Oh goodness. Uh, I get it, gentlemen. I get it. I just wonder, right? So I just think it comes back to a situation to where um I just think it comes back to a situation to where they're not there's no need for them to be at each other's throats. Like you know what? This is what I hope for, right? I hope that on the boardroom, Kevin Durant and Charles Barkley have an opportunity to sit down and talk it out during the offseason. No different from when Kevin Durant and Draymond Green got on to talk about, the situation of him, what KD left Golden State. I would like to see that same energy. Charles Barkley and Kevin Durant to get on their show and talk it out and be able to speak on it and be like, yo, this is what happened. This is where I'm at with it. This is where I'm at with it. You know what I'm saying? Man to man, mano to mano, as they said. And talk that out and figure it out, basically. Or even if walk away, not to say they got to walk away kumbaya and, you know what I'm saying, or Kuma the title and all that type of stuff in state. But at least for them to have an understanding of one another. Because what they're doing back and forth in the media is it's not healthy. It's not good. Basically, in my opinion, it's just a separation of division. Because what you have is you have an all-time great in Charles Barkley, who as we sit up and talk about a lot on here, then when we look at the discussion when it talks about the generational separations, people in the Kevin Durant generation may not necessarily, unless you're a savant of the game, they don't know who Charles Barkley is. And so if they're like I always tease Bishop about being a bronsexual, if they're those type of people who are riding with KD and it's strictly all about KD, then at this point, KD starts to become who they look up to. And so if KD is beefing with the Charles Barkley, they beefing the Charles Barkley. And then you start to diminish the game because no one's going back to look at when they see Charles Barkley, all they see is, oh man, this dude's trash. When he wasn't. He didn't win a championship. And let's keep it 100 when you look at it. KD won a championship. He has a ring. He has a ring. How did he get that ring though? He's been on teams where he's linked up. At one point, the team in which he went to play for was what he had in Oklahoma when it was him, Russ, and Aaron and Harden. If they could, and Serge Ibaka, if they could have remained together just a little bit longer, they might have been potent. They might have been the talk. They might have been that team, or they would be battling right now between Golden State and Oklahoma City. But that wasn't the case. Things change, continue on. Then he goes to a team that already was pretty potent. And he just makes them even better. Like we talked about on here the other day, the Avengers. Golden State becomes the Avengers. Or the Justice League, or whatever you want, superhero tactic type teams you want to put together. That's who they become. Kevin Durant leaves. Golden State still gets championships. Kevin goes on to Brooklyn. Not so much. Now he's in Philly. Now he's in Phoenix with yet another Avenger-esque or Justice League-esque team with another opportunity again. So are we seeing, is it a fair assumption that KD links up with super teams to be successful? Is that the only way he can get it? He started out with one in a sense, I guess hindsight, 2020. Didn't work out because they didn't stay along. James Harden was the first one to go. Not too much later, KD left. Russ went on to be unstoppable force, but he couldn't do it by himself, so he left. KD gets a chip too, moves on in free agency into a better situation so far he thought. Ends up linking up with this man in them again in Brooklyn. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, but he's down. He comes back. Him and Kyrie doesn't work out. Kyrie asks for a trade. Kevin asks for a trade. At some point, they both get traded. Now, Kevin's back with yet another squad. Andre Ayton, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. Looking to make some noise. I don't know. Chuck could be onto something. Maybe he's not. But I think inside is they need to sit down and talk it out to have an understanding. And that'll be helpful. One second. In terms of changing teams, he has different motives than the greats before him, and they can't take it. Okay. He doesn't like hostile environments, whether it's internally or via media attention. He just want to play good, clean basketball. Okay. What's good, CC? What's going on, brother? Glad to have information. Do you count OKC, though, since they were all drafted by the organization? So, and you know what, Cornelius, you're exactly right, in which they were, and that's why I said they were built in the same image, in my opinion, as Golden State. Like, Golden State drafted all their players at that time frame, except for they did get free Andre Iguodala in free agency when he came over. But for the most part, their core was all draftees, in which that was the same thing. So it just so happened that Oklahoma City would have been that. When you look at it, they had three. Well, for the sense of the conversation, they had three Hall of Famers in their midst, all at the same time. They wasn't ready. They were young. They wasn't ready, but they were there. Went to a champ, pushed the Lakers, those Lakers teams to conference championships. Finally, they got their chance, went in, laid a goose egg in the finals game, and then they can get back. But you know what I'm saying? Then the emergence of Golden State happened, and Golden State started being the thorn in their side. After that, it was like turmoil pursued. Russell Westbrook felt shunned. Kevin Durant was like, "Hey, I'm not with. It is what it is, fam." And just like Coach Cal said, he's like, "I'm gone." That's what I'm saying, Coach Cal. Like, that was a squad. Had they remained together, they would have been a problem. Dead set. Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Ibaka, Jackson, Green, Perkins. That is a squad with the little bench. That's a rotation. As you think later on, Roberson came into play. So that's a rotation. They could have been a destination. OKC / Seattle could have been a destination. But as I was saying yesterday, the dollars, if it don't make money, it don't make sense. That's what it comes down to. That's what first broke it up. James Harden went to go get the money in Houston. What did he do in Houston besides develop a unstoppable move for the most part until they figured that out? What did he do in Houston? to that extent. Then he gets bounced to Brooklyn, and then from Brooklyn to Philly, and now with the potential of going back to Houston again at the off season. In the off season, so it's like, what did that amount to, for the most part? Westbrook and Durant continue on. They couldn't do it by themselves, but if they had a James Harden, it might have been a different story. Ibaka went on. He started to fall off the cliff a bit. Kendrick Perkins. So, yeah. Definitely they had something big. So, to answer your questions, CC, I think you can count them. Now, it may not in the same right. Like that wasn't he was there before others were. Oh yeah, definitely. It's like I said, it's a few teams out there that know how to draft their players. If you look at what the NBA is today, they have all of them have went through certain squads. Oklahoma City, as we just said, Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, who is still getting it in. Green, even in his older age, later in his career, he's still producing. Reggie Jackson as well. To that, not just because they're my team, the Los Angeles Lakers as well. Brandon Ingram, Alex Caruso, Julius Randle, D'Angelo Russell, Josh Gray. I will say Ball, but not Ball, maybe. They're out there. So, and which they went through the Lakers system. Thomas Bryant, and now there are other places. Ivica Zubac, there are other places, and they're effective. Hell, think about it. Hell, back in the day, Marc Gasol, they're out there and going other places that became productive. So, yeah. So it's teams out there that definitely know how to draft, but those players don't seem to stay with those teams, and they go on other places and become productive, and make noise. So Cal, true enough, he would not have. But I also think some of those players may not have been in LA either. But additionally, it was just the fact of, I don't think it was Jenny initially. It wasn't Jenny. It was her brother. Now, when Jenny took over, and her and Mitch Kupchak decided to separate, then it became a different story. She started to run the team. Then she went and got. In my opinion, the Lakers were good at drafting until Magic left. You might be, you know what? You could be on something, CC. And that's what I was about to say. We got to take in consideration, like Coach Cal was just saying, Dr. Buss, Magic was his dude. So Jenny kept Magic around, but of course Magic was bigger than the Lakers, and you couldn't have that in an organization. You can't sit up and have that in where you look at it. But it's unfortunate how the turns of the events went with the whole Pelinka and him making the move with the power play and all that type of stuff, and them having to go that route. Unfortunate turn of events, but it is what it is. Magic wasn't present. He was present enough to do those things, but he wasn't present enough to for other things, in which the talking behind the back, I'm very sure, meetings and stuff like that. It's nothing to walk in on a meeting or walk in somewhere where you think you're in charge of something, and you realize that people are talking behind your back about what your role is and what you're supposed to be doing, and talk about things, and then you walk in and it's like, what y'all talking about? So I can feel him where if he don't need to be there, why be there? Deuces. That man's a whole conglomerate in himself. But again, a whole bunch of stuff going on. So of course, last night the NBA, not the NBA, if you could do a reverse for AD trade today, would you look crazy? Who would look crazy? I don't know, Cal. Like, because I don't know what Lonzo would have been. That's the thing. We know what Brandon Ingram was when we had him, as well as Josh Hart. We know what he was when we had him. maybe so, but Brandon Ingram is tend to be injury prone. But you would have a different look. You just wouldn't have a dominant presence in the paint like AD, but you could have been you would have had something with Ingram. Potentially Kuzma would have still been there. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Like I'm big on him now being traded away and getting rid of him, but then maybe not so much. I was happy to get him into the fold. Of course, he got us a championship, but I don't know if I would have hindsight if I would have been open to not. So it depends. See, there you go. See, Cal. I thought I would expect that from Bishop, not you, not a bubble chip. That's not what we're doing. Um, 1 second. I'm sorry. They even get a championship back. See, there y'all go. That it was a legit championship. Don't try to play me like that. Y'all is bugging for real. Uh, we earned our championship. Oh, so yeah. So moving on though. Last night, Bronny James. I know y'all seen it. 5 for 8 from 3 point in his McDonald's American game. We know the night before he competed 20 years from the time in which his father competed in the slam dunk contest in the McDonald's All American Classic game, but he came in second. But he goes on, torch the Nets, scoring 15 points on 5 for 8 shooting from 3 point range. Uh, in a game in which basically had a couple of stars uh, in the game. LeBron James, Bronny James, DJ Wagner, DeJuan Wagner, and Peja Stojakovic and his son. So it's crazy to kind of look at it and see it. When you look at it, we look at like we said, the Gary Trents, the Jabari Smith Jr., uh, Pippen, Scottie Pippen Jr., like all these kids coming up and fathers who have played the game in which we watch and to see their children come up in the game. Although I think the latter has been better than the fathers for the most part. Of course, there remains to be seen for LeBron. But at this point, Bronny would have to go a whole different route in order to eclipse his father. So I think it's going to be a situation where he's going to might be better than his father in certain aspects, but not overall. Like at this point, his father is one of the sought at as one of the greatest of all time. So he's not going to continue to. He's not going to get that admission, but he can create his own lane and be great in his own right. And Anthony says he's only getting his hype because his dad. So do you not think he has any skill, Anthony, or what? Yes, without a doubt, Curry is currently that person. But I mean, it's not hard when you look at who he was up against. His dad, yeah. If so, actually, this Coach Cal, if Steph Curry was Steph Jordan, does he beat his father out? Are you talking about Team Curry's? I get what you're talking about. The taller brother you saying is better, but yeah, I asked that question. If Steph Curry is Steph Jordan, does he beat his father out? Is he the better son? Well, I'll give you an opportunity to answer that. If Steph Curry is Steph Jordan, does he eclipse his father still? Do we say that? Okay. Anthony Price with a yes. I take it other people are typing or have some subject to say. As a shooter, yes. But not overall. You don't think Andre? You don't think he's overall if it comes down to it? Hmm. Uh, but it's just food for thought if he is better. But in any case, like it's hard. It's a hard act to follow, especially for those individuals as a shooter, for sure. But 6'6", 6 for 6, and 10 scoring titles is prestigious. Not overall, who got the most rings? Jordan has the most rings currently. Two more. He's two more than Yeah, see, there y'all go with these damn rings again. But yes, Jordan has the most rings currently. 6. He has 6. Curry has 4. Curry has 4 currently. Um, talked about that. Okay, so another transition, man, to the game of football. That old pigskin. As we know, the owners a lot going on. Actually, it's interesting that you're here at this particular time. Anthony, hold on, Curry don't have a defensive player of the year or dunk contest championship, and his shoes are mid. So good thing that you're here, Anthony. You just happen to be here. I don't get it. Maybe it's inflation. I don't understand it. But for what reason do we have to where the Washington Commanders are commanding a $6.5 billion price tag to be bought? Crazy when you think about it, when you say it, but yes, that's what's going on in the world of the NFL. First and foremost, Washington Commanders um, are potentially going to sell for $6 billion going in. Currently, as of yesterday, I believe they have 2 people currently in a bidding war able to pay 6.5, correction, not 6.5, $6 billion for the franchise. The first, the Josh Harris and Mitchell Rallis group, which now have included Magic Johnson officially, submitted a bid for $6 million in reference to Dan Snyder's asking price. Additionally, a Canadian billionaire, Steve Apopoulos, who also submitted a bid for $6 million. Of course, his claim to fame is he has a realty group in uh, in Canada, Canadian. So he's got the bread. Tillman Fertitta, of course, owner of the NBA's Houston Rockets, as well as a plethora of casinos. He has also looking at potentially making the bid to purchase the team, the Washington Commanders. Of course, I don't think so. I think now it's a branding situation now, Coach Cal. So I think we're going to see them as the Commanders, if not forever, the rest of this time frame. I think the only way you get a chance to move the Commanders is if they move out of Washington and decide we want to do a whole nother rebrand and change the name. But at this point, I think they're going to stay the Commanders. Of course, we know that $6 billion price tag will greatly eclipse the price tag that was purchased for the last NFL franchise of the Denver Broncos at $4.6 billion. We're talking about $6 billion, 1.4 or 1.3 billion more than that just a couple of years ago. These teams are, I think, like you said, with the money correction, with the viewership rights and the betting and stuff like that has greatly pushed the value of these teams, and we're starting to see it. Just think, Dan Snyder purchased the team for $8 million, and he's going to sell them for $6 billion. Guys, that's crazy. Just one of this new stadium in Washington, D.C. Well, you might get it. They might put it together. But I mean, or they might take a little bit, unless that's part of the deal to where in ownership. Of course, we know that the owners have to vote on it and have to be all in comparison with it. Additionally, what's crazy is some of this stuff is being forced, and which the expectation is the reason for the sale, in which we all know there was a lot of allegations against Dan Snyder saying that he was sexually assaulting or sexually harassing women in the workplace, causing a hostile workplace. Additionally, it came to light that supposedly he had been keeping separate books, basically taking or removing money out the mouths of his brethren in the league as ownerships and the owners. So they started really, really, really looking into what was going on. So him and his wife decided to hire a firm to see what it would be like, what it costs to sell the portion of the team or the whole team, which now is seeming like that the whole team. But Roger Goodell has remained steadfast in stating that he will at some point go ahead and release the findings from Mary Jo's investigation, in which, oddly enough, the Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said he doesn't care if they release it. He already knows what's in the report. He said he already knows everything that's in the report. So I would wonder, how is Jerry Jones aware of everything that's in a potential report when all these egregious efforts was being done against him for the most part? Like, at this point, I wonder how many teams are really out there cooking books and doing all this type of stuff. Is this a trend, or what is going on? What's really going on? Dang, that the Cowboys would sell for 2 point. Really, Cornelius? That's, you know what? You might be on to something, Cornelius. 10 to 12 billion. I don't know, but I think the Dallas Cowboys may get a pretty penny, maybe. But I would think that what comes with that, because in my opinion, the Dallas Cowboys have been built on a whole bunch of different things, not just the Dallas Cowboys itself, but for the most part, Jerry Jones and what he has done to keep the Cowboys in the nation's mind, America's team and all that type of stuff. So I don't know, maybe not 10 to 12 billion, maybe 7 billion. Maybe they can up the ante a little bit, 8 billion maybe, but I don't think 10. I don't think they're double digits, selling no double digits. Because they're currently, at this point, if I remember correctly, they're a $7 billion franchise. So I don't know if they're pushing 12 billion at that point, but they up there. They definitely one of those teams that's going to get top dollar if he was to ever sell them. That's what I said, Lestana. You know what he be doing? It's like, yeah, all right, I gave him the blueprint. I already know what it is. I wish Magic, LeBron, and Jordan would buy the Cowboys from Jerry Jones. You know what, Calvin? Sometimes we wish for certain things in which we really don't be ready for. So maybe, I mean, that is black excellence, black power, black excellence, black generational wealth coming together, purchasing a major franchise. But I don't know if that would be the best Magic, LeBron, Jordan, Oprah. That's money. There's a lot of money in that, but I don't know if that would be the best. Because when you get those type of minds together, that's no different from hoping that Byron Allen, Puff Daddy, and Tyler Perry were all to purchase BET and the subsidiaries. These real Cowboys of Texas. I don't think it'll stay America's team at that point, Cal. That might. I don't know how it's America's team now, but I think it would completely and utterly remove that name, like these installations is about to remove these names in the renaming that's going to take forth over the course of the next couple of years, the next couple of months. Actually, I know someone's about to get renamed sometime this month. There's already been one that's been renamed. So I know when it comes to the renaming of Fort Polk, I see some of these chat rooms and there's some angry people that Fort Polk is now going to be called Fort Johnson. So I don't know if that's what you want, if you would want those type of problems for the most part. Shout out to the renaming of the installations. But yeah, so 6 billion. I'm sorry, I don't want to disrespect that price tag. $6 billion when it comes to this. So these teams are starting to push. If you ever thought that you would be a team owner, you stay within the ABA. You go own a franchise in the ABA or the Mid American Basketball Association. My fault, Anthony. 6 billion, man. I won't make the that mistake again. 6 billion. Continue on. So, like I was saying, the NFL, of course, they're in Arizona. They're having the owners' meetings. And of course, they go over some things and stuff like that, rules and things of that nature, to where some things get approved, other things get approved. Currently, there were a few things which was discussed and talked about. The first being a no-brainer from what they said. The fact of now players are free to wear the number 0, in which that small feat does wonders, because they said it's starting to get a little harder and harder. So now a player can wear a number 0 on their jersey. Already, Calvin Ridley, the newly acquired receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, has stated that he's changing his number to 0. Now he's going to be rocking the 0. Of course, now everyone can't wear the number 0 for the most part. That is only I don't know either, Anthony, but now they can. However, defensive players, I mean, offensive and defensive linemen are not able to wear that number 0 for the most part. And then punters are able to wear the number 0 for 49 and 90 through 99 at this juncture, to where it came up in discussed and said that it makes a huge difference, because it helps them. Now you're looking at where you have practice players and regular players and all this type of stuff. You have to you need additional numbers to be able to keep that going. So they have done that. Additionally, I'm so sorry. Additionally, what came about from this, so many 0 jerseys, so it lose its attractive to zeros all over the place. So it may Calvin, but it may make a whole lot of a different difference. I think what we know is going to be, it's going to be attractive to be the first 0. So right now, like I said, Cavalry is the first 0 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and maybe even the first 0 in the NFL that signed on and said, I'm going to wear the number 0. Additionally, they signed on with the Guardian Caps. If you do not know what the Guardian Cap was, it basically was an outer layer of protection on the helmet. Last year, it was a wore by linebackers, tight ends, and defensive linemen, uh, as well as offensive linemen who basically used them during the preseason practices. They're going to extend it a little bit more. They're going to basically this year, they're going to extend it. They're going to keep the same player positions as well as extend it to running backs and fullbacks to wear them, as well as to wear it during in-season contact practices. So the idea is that the guardian caps reduce a lot of wear and tear on the player, less of head injuries and concussions reported during this time frame. So it actually ended up working out from what they're saying. And so the expectation is to extend it a little bit so that way we can see how well does it work. Of course, it was reports and talks about how it added a little. It was a little heavier than expected to balance that on the head, on the necks and shoulders of the players. But instead, it worked out better for the most part, and they're going to extend it to continue with the trials to see how it works with linebackers and fullbacks. Running backs and fullbacks. The NFL additionally has expanded the instant replay rules to review fourth down attempts, which also was a proposal by the Houston Texans to talk about whether a fourth down should be reviewed or not. Now it has been extended to a fourth down to be reviewed, and as well as making the penalty for tripping a personal foul as opposed to just a 5-yard penalty, a yard spot penalty, additionally to be in play. Other notable changes, of course, there would be a size. There would no longer be a size reduction for, two size reductions for practice squads. The ideal is just to reduce one, have one cut in reference to the practice squads, as opposed to having two, which kind of diminishes the ability for a team to get to have a chemistry with one another. So now they put that in perspective, and that's where you're at too. So that was another rule, the change which they had. But some noticeable things that didn't make the cutoff, of course, which is a blow to the 49ers, or what would have been a blow to the 49ers. The NFL will not allow teams to designate a third quarterback on game days. So we know, of course, if the 49ers would have had an opportunity to have a designated quarterback in the game, they might have had a better substitution as opposed to Josh Johnson when Purdy went down. Didn't have an option, or even after the fact when Johnson went down, we had to go back to Purdy. It wasn't in our favor and caused a problem. But the NFL has not decided. They did not pass the option for that to be voted on. Additionally, giving teams a chance to convert from fourth down to a 20-yard line for a 20-yard line. What the XFL does, the NFL thought about, voted on to see if it would. It didn't pass. I think the owners see it as being a gimmick. I think the owners seen it as a gimmick and wasn't too pleased with it. So that will go on to live in obscurity in the NFL. Also, allowing the roughing the passer penalties to be reviewable. That didn't pass. Currently, that's still not a reviewable except during roughing the passer isn't reviewable in state. The spot of the ball on the 25-yard line instead of the 20-yard line when a touchback occurs or a punt, as well as spotting the ball on the 25-yard line when the fair catch is a kickoff, have all been nixed 9. Those aren't going to go forth, so that will continue to be essential. So that will continue to be a thing. The ball, if caught and fielded in the field and touchback is ensued, the ball will continue to go to the 20-yard line as opposed to the 25-yard line as if the ball was kicked out of bounds. So a lot of stuff going on, of course. Additionally, there was a conversation that was had by the owners as in reference to scheduling. So one of the things that came about is we all know Thursday Night Football on Prime is a thing. So what was spoke about, in which some owners were very upset about, is that the fact of they feel like the NFL tried to push an agenda onto the owners without even being vetted. what agenda are we talking about? Basically, we're talking about that of being able to flex certain players, certain teams, and games to Thursday night for prime time viewing. I guess there's a back and forth when you look at it. There's a possibility, a good and bad in a situation. So what you have, of course, is if a team already when the team plays on Thursday night, they basically have 10 games before they play again. So that's a lot of rest to a degree. Some teams, every team in the NFL is supposed to get 2 Thursday night games a year, no more than 2 a year. But what currently they do or do not do is they do not count the Thanksgiving game as a Thursday night. So you could potentially play a Thursday night game on Thanksgiving, play a back-to-back game the following week or that following Thursday, and then sometime later or early in the year have another Thursday night game. So it's a little bit different when you look at it. They have those options. So every team plays at least a Thursday night game. But what they're looking at, what the proposal was that they would flex Thursday night games. So of course, some owners felt like it was an abuse to the fan in doing that. Don't want to mess up that Amazon money. That's the main one that needs to be reviewed. I believe the Thursday night games on the second half of the season will be tentative based on competitiveness. And I think that's what they're going after, Kyle, because of course you're not going to know what 2-3 weeks into the season, you're not going to know who is what or what the case like that. Like that might be different. But however, it's not going to happen, I don't think, because some owners made a very good point for the most part. The idea was that if I want to see the 49ers play, and being I currently live in Louisiana, and I try to go see the 49ers play, and I have it set that I'm finna go see the 49ers play on Sunday or Monday or whatever case like that, I'm going to go ahead and go check them out to see them play. I've already got my ticket and everything like that. And then you say that you flex the game to a Thursday night. I just lost out. I can't go see him play. I've planned already to go see him. Now you flex the game to a Thursday night. And so you hurt. Now I can't see. I don't get a chance to see him play. I have to wait to go see him play. That was some of the ideal. Additionally, the rule for flexing the game would be there had to be at least a 2-week notice, in which a lot of the owners felt like that was not enough time to sit up and say that, okay, we're changing the venue. We're going to go ahead and set the venue up to be playable on this day at this time. And not to mention to reset everything like that. So it just wasn't. It was a lot of owners that felt that it was a unfortunate situation in which the NFL tried to push a narrative on them, in which they did not want. They stated they was not vetted by the competition committee. It felt like it wasn't vetted by the safety committee and all those things to where they could do that. Of course, like I said, other owners, a couple of owners, Jim Irsay for the most part. I mean, not Irsay, the owner for Pittsburgh, Mooney, was like they talked to some players, and some players actually aren't feel it because there's a 10-game rest between Thursday games. But in-state, I don't foresee it's going to happen. Of course, you have players like Patrick Mahomes among the critics that did not approve or did not like the thought or the idea of playing in playing a flex Thursday game, let alone the back-to-back Thursday games, which potentially can happen. So some teams will play 3 Thursday night games a season. Others will not. Of course, we know teams that will because there's the Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, and Dallas Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving currently. So that's a guarantee for them to have 3 games. So that's just what it is. Continue to go forth. What else do we have in reference? So something that hasn't got any airplay or talked about is that conversation in reference to this whole Aaron Rodgers situation. So a couple of days ago, the Green Bay Packers general manager stated that They never got an opportunity to talk to Aaron Rodgers. They said that once Aaron Rodgers came back from his quote unquote darkness tour to put the Cardinals on Thursday. I agree, Coach Cal, unless they're playing San Francisco. But it came down to where they said once Aaron Rodgers came back from his dark retreat and he went back to the Pat McAfee show that and stated that he wanted to play for the New York Jets this year, and he spoke with the Jets brass and everything like that. That the Green Bay general manager came back and stated that he called Aaron Rodgers. They never got an opportunity to speak. He's like he reached out to Aaron Rodgers a bunch of times to find out, to have a conversation, to see what they can talk about, what they can do to change the narrative, or even decide what's the best course going forward. From his discussion, that never happened. Rodgers wasn't picking up the phone. They went through his representation. The representation answered, but didn't really get anything. So it was like a whole bevy of things in which no one got an opportunity to talk about. But Rodgers did. He talked to the owner of the New York Jets, as well as the general manager and the coach. And it was stated that they're open to him coming to be a Jet, of course. The owner for the New York Jets stating that there's no timeline at this point. However, they would like to get him in more earlier than expected, so that way they can continue to know where they're going or what they need to do in their coming days in reference to drafts. Of course, some of the angst has been that Aaron Rodgers wanted to, not Aaron Rodgers, that the Green Bay Packers wanted the first round pick for the Jets, which is number 13 overall. The New York Jets aren't willing to part with that pick. So the GM from Green Bay came back and stated that he's not, that there's other, the 13th pick isn't the end all do all for that draft. I mean, for the trade, that there could be other ways to get it done. So the expectancy is that they're going to get back into the lab and they're going to continue to try and look and see what it is they can do to make the trade happen. But again, neither team says there's no timetable for this for the most part. But of course, we all know that's cap in a sense, because no one wants to be left hanging or left on read to figure out what it is that they're going to do going forth. Because let's say this doesn't happen, they can't make anything shake. Now the Jets have to find a quarterback, because currently they have two quarterbacks under center, in which the expectancy isn't that the Jets don't want to pursue Lamar Jackson during this time frame, in which is a lot of teams actually that don't want to pursue Lamar Jackson when you look at it. I think a total of 10 teams or 11 teams has came out and stated that they don't have any expectancies on pursuing Lamar Jackson in state. So going into the Lamar Jackson situation, we talked about a little bit yesterday, in which there's actually really nothing. Like at this point, Lamar is even left up with a couple just very slim pickings or a couple of opportunities when you look at it. For one, he's been franchise tagged. He's due to make $32 million on the franchise tag, which is more than what he made over the course of the last 5 years in playing with the Jets. So his sick of Rodgers. I can't believe the Jets want him that bad, but you can believe Packers won't want him going that bad. It's looking like the Brads wants him gone, or he wants to be gone, or he's probably going to retire. I think that's what it is. And it's almost similar to what's going on with Jackson. I mean, with Lamar Jackson in a sense, Cornelius. Like at this point, he's going to even play for. At this point, I honestly think he's going to play for Baltimore under the franchise tag, $32 million, which I was just saying, $27 million is what he made in 5 years with the Jaguars. I mean, with the Ravens over the course of his first contract. So $32 million on the franchise tag is a little bit more than that off rip. But he's going to even play with the Jaguars. Jaguars. I keep saying Jaguars. The Ravens. He's going to even play with the Baltimore Ravens. For 1 year under the franchise, $32 million, or he's going to find a negotiable team in which all the teams seem like a vast majority of the teams state that the price tag is too high for Lamar Jackson, and he really believes that he's going to stay in Baltimore. But it's just to sit up and give up two first round picks as well as uh, have to pay the compensation to sign Lamar Jackson. The price is too high, and which a lot of teams aren't willing to do. However, there is at least one team that seemingly is open to doing that, that being the Indianapolis Colts. But the Colts have not yet made a offer sheet. So the ideal is no one is negotiating publicly with Lamar Jackson. There might be some private talks, but no one's publicly. So it's even that, the franchise tag, 2 draft picks in compensation to Lamar Jackson, who wants $230 million guaranteed money, that Deshaun Watson type deal, or Lamar doesn't play under the franchise tags, and he keeps it pushing and decides to come back next year, to where, of course, they can franchise tag him again and keep playing from there, and then keep playing that game until they can't franchise tag him anymore, and he goes on. So what do you do? What is it to do? This is what the options in which Lamar Jackson is left with. In your opinion, just for the sake of conversation, do you think Lamar Jackson is being sensible or making good moves as him being his own agent? Do you think because he's his own agent, this is the reason why he is not able to get the deal in which he seeks? Only Lamar they can't afford is on Lamar. Revenge of the Nerds. Lamar has no reverence since no team are biting even with him trying to talk up on something. So, which you don't. There really is no leverage. But the in-state what's going on at District CC, in which it comes out, is a lot of people are taking consideration, like, yes, and which it was, I think, Arthur Smith from the Atlanta Falcons stated that he is a good player, a good quarterback, but let's not fool ourselves. He has been injured he's missed 25 games in the last 2 years. He hasn't completed the season in the last 2 years. For his type of play, his durability is in question. And so that comes to play when you look at, like, am I going to pay $230 million for that type of quarterback, in which the last 2 years they have not been around? I really knew it was going to be a problem when he decided not to sign a contract and go ahead and play this last year. And then he gets injured. Now this has put him in jeopardy. There's really no leverage at this point. I don't know if it's due to the fact that he is negotiating his own terms and he's basically getting raked over the coals, or basically is it that no one has an interest of him? I think it's that part when you look at it. Now he has to be, which it was a smooth move for the most part. It was a flex move to sit up and release the fact of the tweet that's saying that he asked for a trade on March the 2nd before he was franchise tagged, and Baltimore didn't make any moves on it. He feels like Baltimore is not giving him his worth. So he released the fact that he asked to trade while all the GMs were in the same area in Arizona, but it hasn't amounted to anything. Like, a lot of the coaches that came on and stated that why they were not in on the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. Like I said, some saying that they believe he's going to work it out in Baltimore. Others saying that it's too high of a price tag. He is a good player, but that's not worth leveraging your future for. Although I think, especially like in some cases, some of those teams, Lamar Jackson under center, probably is a value as opposed to a 4th and a 10th round selection that they would have to give up. I don't think that's necessarily leveraging your future to that fact. But again, when you look at, he's been injury prone the last 2 years. He's 4 years removed from the MVP quarterback. He has never made it past the second round of the playoffs. Some of those things start to creep in. But then it's like, what do you have here? And I think that's what a lot of teams are not willing to do. And they just basically stated that that's not happening. But I think the only one that is potentially a player in that sweepstakes is that of the Indianapolis Colts, who currently do not have a quarterback under center. Currently, I think the Colts actually has Gardner Minshew, Nick Foles, and Sam Ehlinger as their backups currently, and they sit with the 4th overall pick. So I don't think it's going to happen. Trey was trying to keep players. They don't want to say that will be toxic in their locker room. And the new GM DaCosta has made it his duty to dispatch and get rid of players that don't want to stay in Baltimore. Hollywood Brown was one of them. But it's a little bit different, a little more. And then you got to get where are you getting back from that for the most part. Ideally, I think it would be to sign him if possible. I don't know if they could get away with a sign and trade. Maybe not. The stigma of a running back. So what would be that stigma which you talk about, Cornelius, in this case? Because I think for the most part, when you look at it over the course, what data says is that running mobile quarterbacks to a degree get shaken up. Cam Newton, Robert Griffin, Lamar Jackson, Colin Kaepernick. They have been Trey Lance, injury prone, gets injuries. Some more than others that derail their careers. I would say Michael Vick, but I think his is a little bit different. And that's what it's starting to come out. I think that's not necessarily the stigma. It's just a situation to where that's what the truth has been come down at this point. Like a running quarterback, no different than a quarterback with a slow, with no pocket presence and a slow release gets pummeled in the pocket when the rushes come and could get hurt. So I don't think it's necessarily a stigma for the most part. I just think it's a situation to where these players with those particular skill sets tend to take a beating. But Josh Allen has that type of skill set. Burrow, Justin Fields, but he could teeter on either side of that. Daniel Jones, they all have that similar skill set in a sense, and they all haven't been injury prone. It's just certain ones, and which is currently Patrick Mahomes. Like they have that skill set. Some are a little more skillful at it than others, but it tends to be the same thing. So I don't know if it's a stigma yet. At first, I was starting thinking, but I think when you look at it, it's really starting to be prevalent that the mobile quarterback or the running quarterback. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I pointed out that, you know what I'm saying, unless you're a pocket passer that lacks in presence and or just have a bad line like Cincinnati Bengals did, then it's a little bit different. But it's so I don't think it's stigmatic. I think it's just a situation to where now that's what's starting to be more prevalent, more and more prevalent. Like it's legitly a thing. Like if anyone or if you can sit up and tell me what else could it be? He's not getting. It's not like he's sitting in the pocket and he's getting hit and he's taking these and he's getting these injuries. Is why he's outside the pocket running that he's getting these injuries. Only person might be different is Tua Tagovailoa when he took a beating in the pocket. Brock Purdy in the pocket. Who else might have got hurt during while playing in the pocket? Like those players, obviously, of course, took a beating in the pocket. But it's true that style of play, I'm not going to say his style of play, but that style of play for a quarterback that gets up the field and run. It happened to Dak. He broke his ankle, mobile, as a quarterback, mobile quarterback, and got him. But then again, he got his the year later, he got an injury in the pocket when he broke his thumb. So I mean, I just think is I don't think it's too stigmatic in that case. 2 or 3 seasons. Matt Stafford, even Mahomes had a bad ankle this past season, but it's held. I think he's different. I just think he's different. But I completely understand what you're saying, Cornelius. I just think he's different from the fact of the matter. Like, all three of them, 2 of them not mobile and sitting in the is going to sit in the pocket. Stafford had back problems already previously. It's just his walked up on them at the most inopportune time. Aaron Rodgers, same thing. He's not mobile at all. Although he gets around corners, whatever, but it's more so because people be worried about him dumping the ball off. Patrick Mahomes, he's mobile, but he's not Lamar Jackson in any way, any form or fashion. But I get what you're saying. I don't want to diminish your comment, but I completely get to say. I just think it's at this point it's not stigmatic anymore. It is mobile quarterbacks. Some are mobile than others. They get out there, they run, and they get hit. I think it's starting to be where defenses want them to run, so they can get hit, so they can hit them with the expectancies of taking them out, getting them out of there. I think that's starting to be more and more prevalent as the time goes on. But just continue on a little bit. It's been stated that the Tennessee Titans have not and will not or have not been looking to trade Derrick Henry. We know King Henry, very prolific running back, power back, one of the better power backs in our time. But we all know that we hear conversations that say we're not looking to do this, and next thing you know, that is exactly what they was looking to do going forward. But maybe we do see Henry continue to be the running back for the Titans. We all know with the new season starts a new opportunity to put themselves in position. Calais Campbell, after being released by the Baltimore Ravens, has signed a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons, so he will continue to play on, giving some type of leadership to that Falcons defensive room, defensive coordinator in the rooms. Where else do we have? It has been stated by the New Orleans Saints that the often injured wide receiver Michael Thomas is back into ready to play, but he is not 100%. Of course, Thomas would be ideally to be ready due to the fact in which they are going to have a new quarterback under center in Derek Carr. So the Saints, with the opportunity to seize the NFC South, now have an opportunity to be with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I don't know if they're bringing back Landry. We don't know if they're going to have Alvin Kamara in the fold. They did go out and get another running back. So, and then it still has to draft. So they can draft another another running back, or they can draft another wide receiver to bring into the fold. It remains to be seen. But they are putting themselves in position for the most part to be at least the top team in the South, as long as Atlanta doesn't have anything to say about it, or even Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the newly minted Carolina Panthers, who are looking to get a number 1 draft pick, most likely a quarterback. They've added some players in Miles Sanders, DJ Shark, and Adam Thielen, probably giving a little bit of something to go on. I just think that New Orleans is primed to be the top team in the NFC South this year. Additionally, before we get up out of here, it was something else I had in mind. Or I might just save it till tomorrow. Actually, that's the thing what I do. So I greatly appreciate y'all rocking with me this morning. That'll be the show for today. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Y'all know what it is. Always 09 to 1100 Monday through Thursday. If ever you have a reason to come on and get into talking about, yes sir, about Carolina Knowles. I got you, Frat. Ever have anything to talk about, interest in talking, feel free, reach out, holler at your boy. so we can see what's good. As we know, plenty coming on. We got basketball galore, NBA action still going on. We coming up to the weekend. I'll be out there in Houston. Little volunteer work for the during the Final Four tournament. Probably not the climate which I want, but I want to see what I can do. See what I can do to get to shape. NBA action coming up, coming towards the end. Their season, postseason coming in, championship season in the May. So that's just a couple. That's just as we get into April. We're looking at about 60 days before that happens. 20 days, just a little over 30 days, a little under 30 days for the National Military Basketball Tournament. That's going to go down. And then, of course, in July, as we get those events out the way, in July, we'll have the AAU men's and women's Battle of the Crest going there in Orlando. If I have it my way, I'm at all three events doing what I do. But if not, it remains to be seen what I will do. But greatly appreciate y'all rocking with me this morning. Be sure to check in with us, fall in tomorrow, 0900 hours. Don't leave there to my formation. Y'all enjoy your day. It's Hump Day. Get over with a great and grand splash. I'll have y'all tomorrow. Peace.